Hello everyone, my name is Ekaterina Sanatullina. I am trainer in ProGlance company. Today I'll show you how to choose the best tweezers and what is the difference between them. I'll bet you have several tweezers that you never touch and use only one for work. And you don't buy the second or the third tweezers because you've got used to your favorite one. Today we will review basic features of tweezers that will help you to select the right tool. Why am I telling you about the specifics of Enigma tweezers in this video? In collaboration with Enigma brand, I introduced them to the market. I know the details and characteristics that define tweezers' quality. Every manually sharpened Enigma tweezers undergoes a 4-stage verification. After manual sharpening, I check every tweezers before it gets to the shelves. Enigma brand offers 11 types of hand-sharpened tweezers. Let's review them in detail. Our first hero to review is straight tweezers. And as we all know, straight tweezers serve to define natural eyelashes with the left hand for right-handers, right hand for left-handers. What should it be like? Straight tweezers must be well sharpened and have thin, sharp tips that will improve precision when you define natural eyelashes. If you struggle to pick natural eyelashes or keep grabbing many of them, can't see them well, or cannot define them at all, pay attention to the tip of your tweezers. Most likely you just need to change straight tweezers. It will be easier to handle. Why am I holding 3 different forms of straight tweezer? They vary by the number of shoulders. Shoulder is a groove on the tweezers. This is a standard straight tweezers without shoulders. It's easy to handle for any lash maker. The second one is a tweezers with one shoulder. What's the difference? This shoulder boosts precision when you define eyelashes and allows you to lift an eyelid without touching the sticky tape. Some artists like to sort of tweezers more. Thanks to one shoulder, flaps are located a bit higher. They are supported better. This is tweezers with 2 shoulders. It will be convenient for artists who struggle to see the entire eyelash row. Since this tweezers doesn't have wide flaps at neither side and features a thin needle, it's easier to see eyelashes. To avoid hand fatigue, don't buy a stiff tweezers. What does it mean? Tweezers can be hard to clamp. Tweezers can be hard to clamp, and if you struggle to close tweezers flaps every time, your hands will get tired during the first eyelash extension procedure. Imagine how you will feel by the end of the day. How to check stiffness? Start closing the tweezers with 2 fingers very quickly and keep doing that for 1 minute. After that, you will feel whether your fingers got tired or not. If your tweezers is stiff, you will feel finger fatigue. However, if it feels comfortable, don't hesitate to buy the tweezers that fits you. One more thing to mention: if your tweezers stiff, it will bounce and move apart broader than you need when you define eyelashes. That might affect the direction of extended eyelashes. One more tweezers feature that impacts your work is the closure. The closure between tweezers flaps should not exceed 5 or 7 millimeters. If the gap is wider, you will keep defining eyelashes too broadly. Hence, that will impact their direction during extension. If tweezers has a narrow closure, you won't be able to handle it. So the optimal closure is 5-7 millimeters. Please pay attention to the tip of your tweezers. It should be sharpened well, avoiding using a dull instrument. The tip should have symmetric flaps. It's not okay if one flap is shorter than another or if they are deformed. The second type is curved tweezers. There are 2 types of curved tweezers in our lineup. They differ by closure. This sort of tweezers is used by any beginning lash maker. Why is it so convenient for beginners? Because when you take an eyelash from the tape correctly, parallel to our lash line and the tablet, you keep your hand in comfortable position. We hold a pen the same way. Such position is more convenient thanks to a smoother angle. This tweezers perfect choice for classic extension procedures. Another curved tweezers has broader flaps at the tip. That means we can use such tweezers for volume extensions, because its broader tips will hold an eyelash cluster better. What to consider when you're choosing curved tweezer? First, pay attention to the tip of the tweezers. It should not be too long. Otherwise, it won't be able to grab eyelashes from the tape and will squeeze them excessively. The optimal distance between tweezer tip and the curve is about centimeter. Make sure the tip is smooth and close as well. Curved tweezers should feature double pressing. What is that? When you press tweezers slightly, its tips should have 2-3 mm gap between them. And when you press stronger, only then flaps are closing entirely. At the first pressing you take an eyelash, it can move slightly between tweezers flaps. When you press it for the second time, you tightly keep an eyelash or a cluster that you take from the tape and carry it before gluing. If tips don't connect at some point in the beginning, tweezers won't hold eyelashes when you take them from the tape. If the tweezers comes with single pressing, you'll fix an eyelash or a cluster without the possibility to correct it. What else to consider? The distance between flaps at the first pressing. When you press the tweezers slightly, there should be some gap left. It can be narrow, average, or a bit broad. But if the tweezers has no gap between flaps at the first pressing, the instrument won't hold your eyelashes. Practice shows that tweezers that close without leaving a gap between flaps are not durable and have many drawbacks revealed afterwards. The third type is an L-sharp tweezer. Artists also call them X tweezers. This tool is suitable for volume extensions because of its wide flaps. It tightly holds eyelash fans formed by artists. Most often, such tweezers are often used for manual extension techniques, when fans are formed manually and are not taken from the tape. When reviewing such tweezer, pay attention to the tip. It should not be too long or too short. The optimal tip length after the curve is 1 cm. The optimal tip length after the curve is 1 cm. Such tip length makes tweezers suitable for ultra volume extensions, allowing you to form big fans. Also, you should pay attention to the inner sharpening of tip flaps. A well-sharpened tweezers holds the fan well and eyelash don't move excessively. If it's sharpened poorly, it's not sharpened at all. Your eyelash in the fan will move from side to side, even if you hold them tightly. That causes problems for lash makers. When you take the fan with perfect opening and carry it to the eyelid in order to glue, they see that eyelash lose their ideal form. Once again, you should check the tweezer's tip. It should be sharp and even. What differs tweezers for volume and ultra volume extensions from other types is that such tool should be weighty. A lash maker should feel the tool. Otherwise, if tweezers is too lightweight, a lash maker won't be able to form fans well. But some lash makers working with the inner corner of the eye cannot reach it well because of a long flap. So, if you work with such tweezer and struggle to reach inner corner of the eye, take another, more convenient tweezers to work in this zone. The fourth type that we will discuss is two forms of tweezers, volume L and mini volume L. They are used for volume and ultra volume extensions. Similar to X tweezers or L-sharp tweezers, these tools have pretty wide flaps. That allows us to hold an eyelash fan confidently. This type of tweezers is preferred by lash makers for manual extension because they hold large eyelash fans well. When it comes to basic features, this type is similar to X tweezers. The only difference is that it doesn't have right angle at its curve. Since there is no right angle, a lash maker has an easier access to inner and outer corners of eyes and eyelash. Besides, it has a shorter tip than X tweezers, so this tool allows for more flexible movements. Mini volume has one difference from classic volume model. It has narrower flaps. Some regard these tweezers as more convenient. Why is this form challenging and lash makers cannot start using them right away after buying? These tweezers changes the angle. Beginning lash makers get used to work with tweezers featuring a convenient angle of hand. It's like a pen that you have been using for many years. This type of tweezers has a more straight angle if you put it parallel to the tape. This is where lash makers face challenges. Students in my training courses often say they cannot master this form right from the start. However, these tweezers ensure great performance, so I teach my students to keep holding and supporting their hand for this type of tweezers. The secret of switching to this technique is purely technical. You need to change hand support when extending lashes. We get used to a hand support spot when working with certain angle. In this case, support is found in other spots. So if you find the right spot for your hand support, you will instantly get used to these tweezers. They are awesome. As with the previous type, you should always pay attention to the inner sharpening of tweezers' flap tips. Sharpening should be perfect. Here comes some fifth type of our devices. This is one of my favorite tweezer shapes, Mini L. These forms differ from each other by their angle. We have Mini L 19, Mini L 45 and another Mini L 19, but for operating on the inner eyelid. Since such tweezers have small and short tips, they are rarely used for hyper-volume extensions. As a rule, lash makers use these tweezers for classic extension and 3D techniques or 4D at maximum. One of the best tweezers is Mini L 45 and 45-degree angle. One of the best tweezers is Mini L 45 with 45-degree angle. It's on par with curved tweezers from convenience standpoint. Thus, it can be used by beginning lash makers in their first extension procedure. Thanks to its small tip, it works well and reaches the medial angle of the eye. It also enables quick and simple work in the lateral angle of the eye. Another benefit of this sort of tweezers is that they are suitable for all techniques of eyelash fan formation. It can be used for any approach, while some tweezers come with restrictions. If you want to switch to these tweezers after handling a curved one, it's no problem because it has the same angle. Now let's discuss Mini L 90. It comes with the same challenge as Volume L and Mini Volume L. Angle is different. You need to change hand support. If you struggle switching to it, consider changing the support of your right or left working hand. Which tweezer to choose? Both are great, but my students help me reveal one common pattern. Tweezers with 90-degree angle are commonly used by lash makers who operate on a small working surface. It happens when a couch lacks free space, or has a table or a wall standing by, and lash makers cannot find a support spot on the lounge. Thus, they have to find a compact position. Such tweezers will work when you will need to maintain such an angle. If you have enough working space and can put your arms on the couch and have no obstructions like a lamp or a wall or a card, you can select a smaller angle. This tweezer is also useful if you have problems working in the medial or lateral angles of the eye. Pay attention to the tips of your Mini L. It should be sharp and not too long. The optimal length of the tip is manually sharpened tweezers is 6 mm. If you buy tweezers without manual sharpening, the perfect length of its tip is 7 mm. If you consider such tweezers with longer tips, keep in mind that they may not work as expected. Since this tweezers has pretty thin and short flaps, you should make sure they are narrowing from the curve to the tip. Otherwise, you won't be able to pick eyelashes from the tape. These tweezers should have an ideal closure, which also means they should come with first and second pressing and close well when they press for the second time. Here is a little life hack for mini L with 45 degrees. It can replace a straight tweezer when you work with eyelash growing downward because it will provide you with easier access than straight tweezer. And here is one more life hack. All mini L models work greatly with L-shaped curves. If you have any questions, leave them in comments and don't hesitate to share your opinions. It was Ekaterina Sanatullina. See you. Bye bye.